a gynecologist's 3-week intimate wellness plan for women over 60. In our last video together, we had an open and honest conversation about the profound confusion that so many women face when they are trying to choose between the various options of moisturizers, lubricants, or even estrogen for the common issue of vaginal dryness after the onset of menopause. The response to that video was truly overwhelming. So many of you took the time to share your personal struggles, your incredible wins, and your profound sense of relief that someone was finally speaking about this important topic in an open and a compassionate way. And it made me think, while knowledge is indeed incredibly powerful, it is the act of taking action that is the place where true and lasting change actually begins. That is precisely why today I want to take you one significant step further. What if I were to tell you that in just 21 short days, 3 short weeks, you could begin to feel more deeply connected, more physically comfortable, and more genuinely confident in your very own body? And not because of any kind of a drastic or an invasive medical procedure, but simply because of the implementation of some small, consistent, and gentle daily habits that are designed to build upon each other day by day. I am Dr. Lily Stones, a gynecologist with more than 3 decades of dedicated experience caring for women through the transitions of menopause and beyond. And today I am going to share with you a comprehensive 21-day intimate self-care reset that has been designed especially and specifically for the needs of women who are over the age of 60. This particular reset is not at all about any sense of pressure, of performance, or of perfection. It is, in fact, all about the profound process of rediscovering your own body, step by step, and in ways that are designed to feel safe, to feel gentle, and to feel deeply and wonderfully nourishing. You see, our brains and our bodies are intricately and powerfully wired for a sense of rhythm. When you are able to repeat a particular action with a sense of consistency, even if it is for just a few short minutes each and every day, you will begin to create a series of new and beneficial patterns, new neural pathways that will effectively tell your own body, this particular practice matters. Please keep this part of me alive and well. That is precisely why this particular reset is 21 days in its duration. A great deal of research that has been conducted in the field of behavioral psychology has clearly shown that it takes approximately 3 full weeks for us to be able to establish a new and a lasting habit. And in my own clinical practice, I have seen time and time again that when women are able to give to themselves those precious 3 weeks, a very real and a very tangible sense of change will begin to unfold in their lives. Here is what we are going to be covering together in this reset. In the very first week, you will be focusing all of your attention on the foundational elements of this practice, the acts of intentional breathing, of proper moisturizing, and of a very gentle form of pelvic engagement. In the second week of our practice, you will begin to add in some small and simple steps that are designed to be able to improve your circulation and your sense of physical comfort, such as the practice of mindful touch and of daily walking. And in the third and final week of our practice, you will begin to build a profound sense of resilience by introducing the use of some gentle and some safe devices, if you should wish to do so, along with the practices of deep relaxation and of journaling in order to be able to fully reconnect your own body and your own mind. But please allow me to be perfectly clear with you. This is not at all about the act of doing everything in a perfect and a flawless way. And even if you are only able to complete just half of all of these steps, your own body will still be sure to thank you for it. The inherent beauty of this particular reset is that it is designed to be able to adapt to you. Whether you have been feeling disconnected from your own body for many months, for many years, or even for many decades, please know that it is never, ever too late for you to be able to begin. I can still so vividly remember a wonderful woman by the name of Gloria, who had once told me, "Dr. Stones, I have been feeling so numb for so very long now that I do not even know where to begin." And so together we were able to build for her a simple 3-week plan, one that had begun with nothing more than the simple acts of intentional breathing and of the application of a high-quality moisturizer. And by the second week of her new practice, she had already begun to notice that her own delicate tissues were beginning to feel a little bit less fragile. And by the third week of her new practice, she had completely and utterly surprised herself by being able to laugh once again, a full and an unguarded form of laughter that she had not been able to feel in many, many years. She had later said to me, "I did not at all realize just how much of myself I had been missing." And that is exactly what these small and simple daily acts of self-care can be able to do for you. So here is my personal invitation to you. Please stay with me through this entire 21-day reset. I am going to be walking you through each and every single week of it, and through each and every single step of it, and I will even be providing you with a very simple and a very practical tracker so that you will be able to see your own personal progress for yourself. And by the end of our time together, you may just be able to find that the very same woman who you had thought had gone so quiet is in fact still very much alive and is just patiently waiting for you to be able to welcome her back into your life once again. But before we begin, I would like for you to please ask yourself just one single and simple question. Am I truly willing to be able to give to myself just 10 short minutes a day for the next 3 full weeks? If your answer to that question is yes, even if it may feel a little bit uncertain to you at first, then I can assure you that you are absolutely and completely ready to begin. Because this is not at all just another program, it is in fact a profound and a powerful promise that you can make to yourself. Now let's go ahead and begin with our very first week of this reset, the foundational work of our breath, of our moisture, and of our gentle and of our mindful pelvic care. Whenever I am guiding women through a structured and a supportive reset, just like this one, I will often begin to notice a very particular and a very predictable pattern. A great many women will begin their journey with a great deal of enthusiasm, but then, after just a few short days, a sense of doubt will begin to creep into their minds. They will begin to ask themselves, "Am I really doing this in the right way? Is this really going to be able to help me? Or is my own body just too far gone?" And then slowly but surely their new routine will begin to slip away from them. And please know that this is not at all because they are somehow lacking in their own sense of discipline. It is in fact because no one has ever taken the time to be able to tell them what particular pitfalls they should be expecting along the way. The very first and most common mistake is the act of starting off far too strong. Some women will hear the phrase "a 21-day plan" and will then immediately think to themselves that they must now dive right in with every single one of the steps all at once: the intentional breathing, the proper moisturizing, the Kegel exercises, the mindful touch, the journaling, and the use of the devices, all right from the very first day. But please understand that your own body does not at all need to be in a state of shock. It is in fact in need of your kindness and of your compassion. Just as you would not at all begin the process of learning how to run by signing yourself up for a full marathon, you do not at all need to be overwhelming yourself with every single one of these exercises, all at once and all in an immediate way. The act of trying to do far too much, far too soon, will almost always and inevitably lead to a state of profound and of debilitating frustration. The second very common mistake is the act of skipping any kind of a structure. I have met with a great many women who will say to me, "I just try to do these things whenever I am able to remember to do them." But the profound truth of the matter is that our habits are designed to be able to thrive on a sense of rhythm. And when you do not at all have any kind of a set plan for yourself, either in the morning, in the evening, or one that is tied to a familiar and an already established routine, such as the simple act of brushing your own teeth, you will inevitably begin to forget to do it. You will then begin to feel a sense of guilt about it, and then soon enough, this very same reset will begin to feel to you like just another one of the many chores in your life that you have failed at. And that sense of guilt in and of itself is more than enough to be able to make a great many women simply stop trying at all. The third very common mistake is the act of expecting to see some kind of an instant and a miraculous transformation. And please know that I do in fact completely and entirely understand the deep and the profound longing for some quick and some immediate results. And after you have been living with a sense of dryness or of physical discomfort for many, many years, it is only natural for you to be able to want to find a sense of relief for yourself overnight. But the profound truth of the matter is that the human body is designed to be able to heal itself in a state of rhythm, and not in a state of sudden and of dramatic leaps. Your moisturizers will need a certain amount of time to be able to properly nourish your delicate tissues. Your muscles will need many, many weeks of a gentle and of a consistent form of repetition in order to be able to gain a new sense of tone, and your hormones will only ever begin to shift in a very gradual and in a very subtle way. I once worked with a wonderful woman by the name of Helen, who had very nearly given up on her own personal journey after just 5 short days, simply because she had not been able to feel any kind of a noticeable change. But then, at the end of her second week of practice, she had begun to notice that she was experiencing a little bit less of a stinging sensation, and then at the end of her 4th week of practice, she had smiled at me and had said, "I almost quit right before I had even gotten to the very best part." The practice of patience is not at all an easy one, but it is in fact an absolutely and an utterly essential one. The 4th very common mistake is the state of silence, the act of keeping your own personal journey completely and entirely private, even when you are so deeply and so desperately craving a sense of support. So very many women will feel a profound sense of embarrassment about all of this, and they will think to themselves, "I should not at all be talking about this, not even with my own personal doc." And that profound sense of isolation will only ever serve to magnify their own sense of doubt. But in reality, the simple act of sharing your own personal progress with a trusted and a supportive friend, with a professional therapist, or even with the simple act of writing it all down in a private journal, can be able to keep you feeling so much more grounded and so much more motivated. And please know that you do not at all have to be broadcasting your own personal routine to the entire world, but you also do not at all need to be carrying it all completely and entirely on your own. And finally, the 5th and final common mistake is the act of self-judgment. I will so often hear women say to me, "I missed a day, so I have now completely and utterly ruined it all," or "I am just simply too old for any of this to be able to matter at all anymore." But please know that the process of healing is not at all an all-or-nothing process. The act of missing just one single day of your practice will not at all erase all of the wonderful and the positive progress that you have already been able to make. Your own body is able to remember your acts of care, and what matters the very most of all is that you are always able to come back to yourself with a sense of profound and of deep gentleness, and not at all with a sense of shame. I would like for you to please try to think of it in this way. The act of building this new habit is very much like the act of watering a beautiful plant. And if you happen to forget to water that plant for just one single day, that plant will not at all be able to die. It will simply and patiently wait for its very next drink, and your own sense of consistency will always matter so much more than your own sense of perfection. So if you have ever tried to do any of this before and have then simply given up, I so deeply want for you to be able to know that it was not at all you who had failed. It was in fact the plan itself that was simply not built with a sense of compassion. And that is precisely why this particular 21-day reset is so very different. It has been specifically and carefully designed with some small and with some very sustainable steps. It is designed to be able to give you the full and the unconditional permission to be able to go very slowly. It is designed to be able to remind you that your own personal progress is to be measured in a matter of weeks, and not at all in a matter of hours. And most importantly of all, it has been designed to be able to frame each and every single one of your actions, not as some kind of a duty but as a profound and as a beautiful act of your own personal self-respect. In the very next part of our discussion, I am going to be walking you through exactly what you should be doing in the very first week, in the very second week, and in the very third week of this reset. You will be able to see for yourself just how each and every single week of this reset is designed to be able to build very gently upon the one that had come before it, and you will also be able to see for yourself just how even 5 short minutes a day can be able to reawaken your own delicate tissues, your own muscles, and even your own emotions that you may have long since thought were gone from your life forever. And by the end of these 3 short weeks, you will have been able to create for yourself a brand new sense of rhythm that you can then be able to carry with you into the rest of your own life. But before we go there, I would like for you to please ask yourself this: which of these very same common mistakes have you ever made before? Was it the act of starting off far too strong? Was it the act of skipping any kind of a structure? Was it the act of expecting to see some instant and some miraculous results? Was it the act of staying silent? Or was it the act of judging yourself far too harshly? The simple act of recognizing them for what they are is the very first and the most important step to be able to begin to break them. And once you are finally able to break them, you will then be able to create a brand new space for a true and for a profound sense of healing to be able to occur. Now let's go ahead and move on from all of the many common mistakes, and let's now begin to focus all of our attention on all of the many different solutions. I want to be able to give to you a very clear and a very practical roadmap a comprehensive 21-day reset that is designed to be able to build up in a very gentle and in a very step-by-step way. I would like for you to please try to think of this particular plan as being like a sturdy and a reliable ladder. Each and every single week of this plan will be adding a brand new rung to that ladder. And by the end of these 3 short weeks, you will have been able to successfully climb up to a place where your own body is able to feel so much more alive and where your own sense of confidence is able to feel so much stronger. We are going to begin our journey with the very first week of this plan, which is the foundational week. In this very first week of our practice, your primary and your singular goal is simply to be able to reintroduce a sense of gentle and of mindful awareness to your own body. I would like for you to please try to start with just 5 short minutes of some deep diaphragmatic breathing on each and every single day. I would like for you to please place one of your hands on your lower belly and to then just simply inhale very slowly and to feel your own abdomen as it begins to expand. This particular practice will be able to calm your entire nervous system, and it will also be able to prepare your pelvic muscles to be able to respond in a much more effective and in a much more coordinated way. Next, I would like for you to please try to use a high-quality, pH-balanced vaginal moisturizer just 3 times this week, on Monday, on Wednesday, and on Friday, for example. This will be able to keep your delicate tissues in a well-hydrated state, and it will also be able to start to restore their own natural sense of elasticity. And finally, I would like for you to please try to practice just 10 gentle Kegel contractions, just once a day. And please be sure to remember that these are not at all about any sense of straining. They are in fact all about a sense of a controlled and of a mindful engagement and of a complete release. And at the very end of this first week of your practice, I would like for you to please try to write down just one single change that you may have been able to notice, even if it may seem to be a very small one to you. Perhaps it will be the experience of sleeping a little bit more peacefully, or of feeling a little bit less of a sense of tightness in your own body. In the second week of our practice, we are going to be adding in the elements of a healthy state of circulation and of a mindful sense of connection. I would like for you to please try to continue with your daily practice of your intentional breathing, of your proper moisturizing, and of your gentle Kegel exercises. But I would now also like for you to please try to add in 2 short sessions of some very mindful and of some very gentle touch of about 5 to 7 minutes each. And please know that this does not at all have to be a sexual form of touch. It could simply be the act of placing your own hand over your own heart, of gently massaging your own abdomen, or of simply noticing the wonderful warmth of your own skin. The primary purpose of this particular part of our practice is simply to be able to bring a healthy and a robust flow of blood and of your own mindful attention to your own body in a very safe and in a very comfortable way. I would also like to be able to encourage you to please try to walk for at least 20 minutes, just 3 times this week. The simple act of walking is able to improve your own overall state of circulation, which in turn is able to benefit your own delicate pelvic tissues just as much as it is able to benefit your own heart. And if you should feel that you are ready to do so, I would also like for you to please try to use a safe and a simple water-based lubricant during your own practice of a mindful form of touch, in order to be able to reduce any sense of friction and to be able to increase your own sense of physical comfort. And by the very end of this second week of your practice, I would like for you to please try to write down just how much your own personal level of comfort has been able to change for you. Perhaps your own sense of dryness is now beginning to feel a little bit less constant, or perhaps the simple act of movement is now beginning to feel a little bit easier for you. And in the third and final week of our practice, we are going to be focusing all of our attention on the elements of a profound sense of resilience and of a deep sense of integration. In this particular week of our practice, I would like for you to please try to keep up with all of the many different things that you have been doing in the very first 2 weeks of our practice, but I would now also like for you to please try to add in just one single new element. This could be the gentle and the mindful use of a safe and a simple device, or of another tool if you should feel comfortable doing so. A small and a simple vibrator with some soft and gentle edges and a very low level of vibration can be able to encourage a healthy and a robust flow of blood to the area, in a way that the simple act of touch on its own sometimes cannot. And if you are not at all ready for that particular step, then I would like for you to please try to choose another form of a deep and of a profound reconnection for yourself, such as the practice of a guided form of relaxation, of the practice of journaling, or of the simple act of taking a warm and a soothing bath, with some calming and some beautiful music. The main point of this particular part of our practice is simply to be able to deepen your own sense of awareness and to be able to reinforce the powerful and the important message to your own body that you are cared for and you are alive. And in this particular week of our practice, I would also like for you to please try to begin to journal about all of your own personal emotions. I would like for you to please try to ask yourself, do I now feel a little bit more confident, a little bit less anxious, or a little bit more open to the experience of laughter or of a deep sense of connection? And please know that these particular types of reflections are every single bit as important as all of the many physical changes that you may be experiencing. And by the very end of these 21 short days, you will have been able to successfully create for yourself a brand new sense of rhythm. The act of a daily practice of your intentional breathing, of the act of moisturizing several times per week, of the act of practicing your gentle Kegel exercises, of the act of adding in some very mindful and some very gentle touch, of the act of supporting your own healthy state of circulation, and of the act of integrating a sense of an emotional reflection. And while it may not at all feel like some kind of a dramatic and of an overnight transformation to you, I can absolutely and completely promise you that if you are able to stay consistent with this practice, your own delicate tissues, your own muscles, and even your own overall mood will all begin to respond to you in a very positive and in a very beautiful way. And the very best part of all of this is that all of these new and beneficial habits can be able to continue on for you long beyond these 21 short days, and they can then be able to become a quiet and a lasting and a beautiful part of your own personal self-care. I once guided a wonderful woman by the name of Denise through this very same reset. At first she had felt very skeptical of it, and she had even felt a little bit embarrassed by it, but she did agree to give it a try. And in the very first week of her new practice, she had not been able to notice anything at all. But in the second week of her new practice, she had written in her own personal journal, "I am now laughing so much more with my own sister." And by the third and final week of her new practice, she had said, "I am now feeling so much less fragile." And for her, the very biggest and the very most profound change of all was not just a purely physical one. It was in fact a deeply and a profoundly emotional one. She was now feeling so much more present once again in her very own body. So here is my personal invitation to you. I would like for you to please try to make a commitment to these 21 short days, just one single and simple step at a time. I would like for you to please try to write down all of your own personal progress, even if it may seem to be a very small one to you. And I would like for you to please try to remember that this is not at all about the act of rushing or of achieving any kind of a perfection. It is in fact all about the act of creating a steady and a consistent sense of rhythm that is able to remind your own body and your own spirit that they are in fact still very deeply and very profoundly connected, that they are in fact still very strong, and that they are in fact still very worthy of your own personal care. In the very next part of our discussion, I am going to be sharing with you a very powerful and a very inspiring transformation story that will be able to show you exactly what can begin to happen when a woman is able to successfully complete this very same reset. And I will also be giving you a very powerful analogy that will be able to help you to be able to remember why a sense of consistency is the true and the ultimate key to be able to achieve a lasting and a meaningful change. I would now like to be able to tell you about a wonderful woman by the name of Margaret. She was 68 years of age when she had first come to see me. She was a very soft-spoken and a very gentle woman, and she had a profound sense of sadness in her eyes that she was not at all able to quite name. She had said to me, "Dr. Stones, I do not at all feel broken, but I do not at all feel whole either. I feel as though I have just gone very, very quiet on the inside." And when I had first suggested to her the idea of this 21-day reset, she had chuckled to herself in a very nervous way. And had said, "I do not at all know if I have the patience for that." But she did agree to give it a try. And in the very first week of her new practice, Margaret had simply and only practiced her intentional breathing and had applied her high-quality moisturizer. She had later told me, "It just feels so silly to me, as if I am just waiting for something to happen." But she had decided to stick with it, and by the very end of her second week of practice, she had begun to notice some very small and some very subtle shifts. Her own delicate tissues had begun to feel a little bit less fragile, and she had also been able to sleep a little bit more soundly at night. And by the third and final week of her new practice, when she had begun to add in the practices of journaling and of a mindful form of touch. Her own personal words had begun to change. She had written in her own personal journal, "I feel as though the color is now beginning to come back into my own days." And at her very next follow-up appointment with me, she had smiled for the very first time in many, many months and had said to me, "I do not at all feel 20 years younger, I just simply feel real once again." Her incredible and her profound journey serves as a very powerful reminder to all of us that this particular reset is not at all about the act of chasing after your own youth. It is in fact all about the profound and the beautiful process of rediscovering your own sense of presence, of your own sense of comfort, and of your own sense of profound joy. And what Margaret had been able to regain for herself was not just a state of a physical form of resilience, it was in fact a profound sense of belonging in her very own skin once again. I will often compare this particular process to the act of reawakening a beautiful and an antique piano that has not been played in many, many years. At first, the notes that it is able to produce will sound very stiff, the keys will seem to resist your touch, and the sound will be very muted and very faint. But as you continue to return to that piano, day after day, the strings will begin to loosen up, the keys will begin to respond to your touch, and the beautiful music will begin to flow from it once again. And your own body is very much the same. And even if the experience of intimacy has been completely and utterly silent in your own life for many, many years, the act of a consistent and of a gentle form of self-care can be able to bring that beautiful music back to you once again. And please know that it does not at all have to be a loud or a dramatic form of music, it just simply has to be yours. I have been able to see this very same transformation happen in the lives of my own patients many, many times. Women who had once thought that they were simply too old or that it was simply too late for them have been able to discover that, within just a few short weeks of a consistent and of a mindful form of self-care, their own delicate tissues have begun to soften, their own overall mood has begun to brighten, and their own sense of confidence has been able to quietly and to beautifully return to them. And please know that it is not at all just about your own body, it is also about the simple act of being able to walk into a room and to be able to feel visible once again. It is about the act of being able to laugh without any sense of hesitation. And it is also about the act of being able to look into the mirror and to be able to recognize yourself once again. What I so deeply and so profoundly love the very most of all about Margaret's very personal and very powerful story is the way that she was able to so beautifully describe the change that she had been able to experience. She had said to me, "It is not at all like I had become someone new, it is in fact like I had been able to remember someone that I had long since forgotten." And that is the true and the profound gift of this particular reset. It is able to help you to be able to remember yourself. So if you have ever found yourself doubting whether or not just 10 short minutes a day could possibly be able to make any kind of a real and a tangible difference, or if you have ever found yourself wondering if just 21 short days could possibly be able to change anything at all, I so deeply and so profoundly want for you to be able to think of Margaret. She did not at all feel young once again. She had in fact felt whole once again. And that profound and that beautiful sense of wholeness had been able to give to her back her own personal sense of laughter, her own personal sense of color, and her own personal sense of voice. As you are taking a moment right now to reflect on all of this, I would like to be able to encourage you to please try to imagine for yourself your own personal and your own beautiful music as it begins to return to you once again. What would it be able to feel like for you to be able to sit down in a comfortable way once again, to be able to enjoy a simple and a leisurely walk without any sense of distraction, or to be able to welcome the experience of intimacy into your own life without any sense of fear at all? That particular vision is absolutely and completely possible for you, and it is able to begin not with any kind of drastic or of any kind of overwhelming steps, but with a steady and with a consistent form of self-care. In the very next and in the final part of our discussion today, I will be sure to recap all of the key and the essential steps of this 21-day plan. I will be sure to offer to you some words of encouragement for you to be able to continue on with this practice long beyond these 3 short weeks, and I will also be sure to give to you a very simple and a very clear call to action so that you will be able to carry this newfound sense of momentum forward with you into the rest of your own life. Because your own personal journey does not at all have to end at the end of these 21 short days. It can in fact just be beginning there. We have come full circle together. Over the course of these last few minutes, we have been able to talk about why a simple 21-day reset can be able to change not just the health of your own delicate tissues, but also your own sense of personal confidence and your own profound and your own beautiful sense of self. Let's now take just a moment to be able to gather all of the many different things that matter the very most of all. First of all, we were able to recognize that the simple act of starting small is the absolute key to your success. In the very first week of our practice, you were able to focus all of your attention on the foundational elements of this practice: your own personal breath, your own personal moisturizer, and your own personal sense of a gentle and of a mindful form of a Kegel engagement. And please know that these are not at all any kind of dramatic or of any kind of overwhelming steps, but they are in fact the very same steps that are able to prepare your own body to be able to respond in a very positive and in a very beautiful way. Second of all, we were able to see for ourselves just how the second week of our practice is able to build upon that very same foundation by adding in the elements of a mindful form of touch, of the simple act of walking in order to be able to boost your own healthy state of circulation, and of the use of some safe and of some simple lubricants if they should be needed. And you were also able to remind your own body that a sense of connection is in fact still very much possible for you. And please know that these are all very gentle and very loving invitations to your own body and not at all any kind of demand. Third of all, in the third and final week of our practice, you were able to deepen your own personal practice with the help of the practices of journaling, of a deep and of a profound state of relaxation, and of the optional use of some very gentle and of some very safe device. This particular stage of our practice is all about the cultivation of a profound sense of resilience and of the act of teaching your own body and your own mind that the experiences of intimacy and of a deep sense of presence are still able to belong to you at every single age. We also had the wonderful opportunity to be able to reflect on the very powerful and the very inspiring story of Margaret. She did not at all become a different person. She had in fact simply been able to remember the very same woman that she had always been. And that is the true and the profound gift of this particular reset. It is not at all about the act of trying to reverse the flow of time. It is in fact all about the profound and the beautiful process of reclaiming yourself. So what is able to happen after the end of these 21 short days? You are simply able to keep on going, and not at all with a sense of pressure and not at all with a sense of perfection, but with a beautiful and a sustainable sense of rhythm. Perhaps you will be able to continue on with the practice of moisturizing just 3 times a week, of the practice of your intentional breathing on a daily basis, and of the practice of your journaling just once or twice. Or perhaps you will be able to find that the practice of a mindful form of touch is now beginning to feel so much more natural to you. And please know that this particular reset is not at all the end of your journey. It is in fact just the very beginning of a brand new and a much more beautiful relationship with your own body. Here is my personal challenge for you. If you have been able to listen this far, I would like for you to please try to write the words day 1 in the comments section below. And please let our entire community know that you are now starting on your own personal journey. You just might be the very same person who is able to inspire another woman who may be feeling a little bit hesitant to be able to take that very same first step. And if you have already begun on your own personal journey, I would be so very honored if you would please share with all of us what is now working for you. Your own voice can be able to help another woman to be able to find her own sense of courage. Please be sure to remember that the process of healing does not at all happen in any kind of a dramatic leap. It happens in a series of some very steady and of some very consistent steps. And those very same steps, even if they may only take just 10 short minutes of your day, have the profound and the incredible power to be able to restore your own sense of physical comfort, your own sense of personal confidence, and your own sense of profound joy. At Eldercare Wellness, our mission is a very simple one: to be able to remind all of the women who are over the age of 60 that you are not at all finished, that you are not at all invisible, and that you are most certainly not at all beyond the reach of care. You are so very deserving of some evidence-based solutions, of some compassionate support, and above all else, of the full and the unconditional permission to be able to thrive. So if today's video has been able to encourage you in any way, I would be so very grateful if you would please give it a like, if you would please subscribe for more, and if you would please share this entire series with a friend, with a sister, or with a daughter who might be in need of hearing that it is never ever too late for them. And together we can all work to break the pervasive and the debilitating silence that has for so long surrounded these issues, and we can all work to build a brand new culture of a mindful and of a compassionate form of self-care for all of the women who are in their 60s, their 70s, and beyond. I'm Dr. Lily Stones, and I thank you for your time. And before we close, let me remind you this video is for educational purposes only. It does not replace medical advice. Every woman's body is unique. If you are experiencing pain, significant changes, or have personal concerns, please consult with your healthcare provider. Your well-being deserves personalized care. Please take a very deep breath with me now. Please place your own hand on your own heart, and please whisper to yourself, I am still here, I still matter, and I am allowed to thrive, because you most certainly are, and this is your own personal moment to be able to begin once again.